Welcome to What's the Story with Indirect Permissions? Hey, I'm Eric, and that is a question I have received a lot. Typically not as clear as stated here, indirect permission, but questions around my API doesn't work and I have given it all the permissions and everything looks right, but I'm still getting a permission error, and what's wrong? And the answer is indirect permissions. But what exactly are indirect permissions? Because that's kind of a weird label. But let's take a look at it and then figure it out together here. So here is, I am in a cloud sandbox and I have clicked on effective permissions on a user called Esben. I don't know who that guy is. He's probably quite smart, actually. And we can see here, apparently Esben is allowed to do a lot of stuff in this database. Yes. But now here's the problem, right? GL entry. Read permission, yes. Insert permission, indirect, modify indirect, delete indirect. Let's keep scrolling. Custom ledger entries, insert indirect and delete indirect, but modify, yes. That's kind of weird. We see the same thing on vendor ledger entries. Item ledger entries is indirect. And there's more here. You can see things. Let's keep going and see what else there is. Indirect, exchange rate adjustment, sales shipment header. You can delete them, but you cannot modify them. You can delete sales invoices, but you cannot modify them. You can delete sales credit memos, but you cannot modify them. And you cannot delete a line. You have only allowed to delete the document. But on purchase, you can do anything on a posted purchase header, but not the lines. And the same thing with purchase receipts headers. This is kind of weird. And you're allowed to delete a line on a, no, you're not to delete the purchase invoice header. So some of these doesn't really make any sense, to be completely honest. But what we're interested in the cases where we got indirect. So let's actually go back to the top and see what's happening. So if I go and find, let's just go with GL entry. So what if we go here, and then let's try to GL entry, record GL entry. There we go. I'll do GL. See, here's something that's weird. Why for suddenly do Visual Studio Code think that I'm probably gonna, I forgot to type get last arrow, so this is not the top selection because something weird going on here. Anyway, I'm just gonna grab one here and then I'm gonna GL entry. What about description? I'm gonna change the description on something posted. Look, Mom, I'm coding AL. There you go. I'm pretty sure my mom's not watching this, but if you are, hi, Mom. GL entry modify. GL entry modify. There you go. That's a nice program right there. Let's run it. And so now I have actually two options. In this app, I have set two configurations into my launch.json. I have set a cloud sandbox and a local Docker. And I'm going to deploy this again to cloud sandbox because then I'm getting a end user license. In my Docker, I have my developer license from Microsoft, and stuff like this is allowed on the developer license. So the error that I'm getting, hopefully in a few seconds, we will not get in the Docker because I'm running a dev license. So this is actually quite dangerous because you might think, oh, it works, but then you deliver stuff to a customer and then it does not work. Anyway, we clearly got a breakpoint here. And we can actually go here and look in locals. It's kind of hidden away, but here's _AL exception. Sorry. And I wonder if I actually, what happens if I type AL exception down here? AL exception. There we go. Look at how cool is that? So that is just one trick. So if you are in Lyon next week, come to my session on debugging because we'll play with tricks like this. Anyway, sorry, the current permission prevented the action table data GL entry. Let's just move this. So it's WSD entry modify indirect permissions. This is actually 23 where they have improved this message just a bit. But clearly we can't do that because we do not have indirect permissions. Or there's indirect permissions, we have that, but we have not modified yes in this case. So we're not allowed to touch this. And of course this is, most of the table has the setting that are due to regulatory local law, accounting laws. What are you allowed to? You're not allowed to mess with posted data in any way, or maybe there's very specific rules what you can do. Hence the places where I would think it should say indirect, but does not say indirect. So if I run this on the Docker, because of my developer licenses, will just work as the code is intended. So this will never work in real life. But now back to the point, what does indirect actually mean? It means that you do have permissions to do this, but you need to kind of have another permission hand in hand. So if you have the other permission, then you will be allowed. So it's like a handshake, a 50-50 thing. And what we can do, but not in a page permission, is that we can add permission to the object. So if I down here create a code unit, manipulate GL. That's a great name for a code unit. I'm just gonna grab this thing here and then do. How about that? And look, if you notice, I got some auto formatting done because I hit the Shift Alt F. It also happens when you Control S for save. So now I have this. So I could go up here, get rid of this, get rid of this. I already still have. Let's get rid of only that. And then I create a stuff which is code unit manipulate GL, and then here I'm gonna do stuff.do. So int accepted. What did I do wrong? Interesting. Do. Most weird. So let's just save this and reload the window. Okay, So this is interesting. Yeah. So what the same? So okay, brain melt here. Certain words are reserved, very reserved, and this is do is actually one of them, because you can do for something do, right? So do is one of those rare Pascal words that are actually reserved. So do X, that's probably it. Wow, brain melt there. If you yelled at the screen, thank you. Anyway, if I run this will give you the exact same thing as before. Nothing has changed. But what has changed is that since the code is now sitting in a code unit, we can add permissions. And I can now say GL entry. I'm going to do table data. GL. Come on. GL entry equal M for modify. Let's build this. It's happy. So what I have done now is that the two pieces to be allowed to modify GL entry are now in place. Piece number one is that through my permissions I have at least indirect. And then the other piece is that this object has permission, has modify permissions. But if my user was only, so no modify access to the table, then this one is not enough, because I need at least indirect for this one. If I had yes, this one would not add anything further. But let's see. Let's try it out, because otherwise you would claim that I'm tricking you, and I'm not tricking you. So let's see how it goes. Come on, Business Central. No errors. General ledger entries. And let's get rid of this thing and go and sort by entry number. Scroll back. Oh, look, Mom, I'm coding AL right there. So I managed to modify the GL entries. So that is indirect permissions. So how to use this in real life? Well, you use this typically if you want to actually do something that you create the indirect permissible function. You put that in a code unit, and then from where this is allowed to happen, you call into the code unit. So if we go look at, actually I'm just switching back again here. If we go look at the base app, that's a great place to go look for stuff like that. General journal post line. And we can see that the first part of this code unit is a bunch of permissions. Some has read, insert, modify, delete. Some of this is probably overkill. I don't think that the posting routine will actually delete a bank account ledger entry, but nonetheless. So same principle, that the only reason that the posting routine can write into those protected tables are because they already have the indirect permissions. So with that is how we do it, and that means that you can actually pretty easy with AL get access to those tables. In most cases you shouldn't. If you find yourself adding permissions equal table data, something posted, think twice. Is this necessary? Is this the right way to do it? Is there already a code unit but you can call that will do it for you, so you're not adding an extra point in the code base that will modify these data. And if you really want to be proper, then you need to explain to whomever owns the system. That might be your CFO, that might be the client if you're working for a client, that you have now extended what can mess with posted data. And if it's depending on where in the world you are, that might need to be included in the yearly audit report, that you have functionality that will do this and this to posted entries in order for your system to still be compliant with the local accounting laws. So consider what you're doing as soon as you start writing permissions equal. It might have some consequences that are bigger than just you and me sitting here and goofing with AL. Anyway, when you're done with that, here is the next video for you. Check it out. It's a good one. I'll see you there. Take care. Bye.